and welcome to another session of Building Blocks. I'm Judy Brown from the Little Fabric Garden, and today I want to show you how to put this cute little table runner together just in time for Christmas. Now, I kind of named this a Christmas night. I used Christmas fabrics and, with the star, I just kind of thought it all went together quite nicely. One of the reasons that I picked this was because there were a couple different reasons. Well, the first one is because it's an easy one to put together. So if you are a newbie and you haven't been doing this for very long, it's not a hard one to get together. And it's using two blocks that I really like. The first one is called rail fence, and that's just strips together, sewn together, which just straight stitching. It makes it very, very easily done. And the other one is the friendship block. And there are so many different star blocks out there. You just can't count them all. But this one is by far my favorite. And I think probably because it is so simple, it's an easy one to get together. Plus, like if you gave it to someone, it's a friendship star. It makes you feel good when you give it to someone. They know that you've got feelings for them, whatever. So I put these, these are put together, and it really came out quite nice. So you can see that the fabrics that I used are Christmas fabrics, and I do have them over here. Now, you don't have to use Christmas fabrics. You could use any fabrics that you want. You can change it to, a Thanksgiving night or, whatever you would like to do, a fall night. But these are the fabrics that I used, and I will tell you what you need in them. You need a light, a medium, and a dark. And those three are for the rail fence block. All right, so you need 1/4 yard of each one of those. Then you need 1/3 yard of the gold, which is for the star, and it is also for the first border, the inside border. And then you also need the background. Now give me a second here. You need 1/4 yard for the background for the star. Now, not only do you need 1/4 yard of the dark for the rail fence, there is an additional amount that you need, another 5/8 of a yard that you need for the outside border and the binding. So that's what you need to do this project. And like I said, it's pretty easy, and you'll see how easy it really is. So let's get started on this. And so, before I forget, you have to know kind of how to cut that. So these three that you're going to use for the rail fence, you are going to cut those each. You're going to cut 3 2-inch strips. So here are my 2-inch strips that I cut, and I cut one of each. I have the light, there's the light, the medium, and the dark. And then we are going to sew those 3 together, and we are going to get our strip set. So that's the first thing that we're going to cut. Then we are also going to cut the strips for the inside border, and those have to be cut at, let me make sure that I tell you the right thing, at 1 1/4 inch. And there are 4 strips of these. So the gold, you will do that. That's for this section right here. Now the dark green that you are going to cut for the outside border and the binding, you're going to cut all of those strips the same width, and that's 2.5 inches. And I do believe you need 8 altogether. So that's that. But then the next thing is for our star. And here we have the stars. So the gold on the star, for each one of these blocks, and the directions will tell you exactly. And by the way, those directions can be found online. you know, like on the library site at the library or here at the Little Fabric Garden. So you have to have, you're going to cut 2 of these squares. They're going to be 2.5 inch squares, 2.5 inch gold squares. And then you are also needing 1 2-inch square. So this 2-inch square will be the one that's in the middle, and then these 2.5-inch squares are the ones that you're going to use for these half square triangles. Okay, and out of the white, it's the same thing. You are going to use, cut 2.5 of the white, the background fabric, but with these, the 2-inch, you're going to cut 4, and that's where these go. So what I have here is enough to get 1 of these blocks. All right, so I'm going to put these over to the side for now, and we're going to do the easiest part first. So we're going to start with the white. We're going to put it with the medium, and I am going to put them right sides together like we always do. And because this is a straight, you know, it's just one straight stitch all the way down, I'm not going to put any pins in it. I'm just going to try to be very careful in doing that. And when I get down to the end, then I'll tell you what we have to do next so that we don't get a big mess. All right, so here we go. 1/4 inch seam, right sides together, and here we go. Make sure that it doesn't slip on you. So that's the only problem about not pinning, is that you have to be careful that it doesn't slip on you. You could be sewing right off the edge. All right, now that we have these two sewn together, we have to get the dark on. All right, now what I want to remind you of, and I think I told you about this in another video at one time, was if you start sewing strips together on one end, when you go to put the next one on, you have to start at the opposite end. And if you had more than 3, that's what you would do. Each one you would continue to do it at opposite ends. And the reason for that is if you don't, and you sew them the same way all the time, you end up getting a curve in your strips, and it makes it very, very difficult to do what you want to do, and you end up trying to straighten it up and losing a lot of fabric. So, and as I've said before, the reason I know about all this is because I've done it all, and I learned the hard way. All right, so we have the light, we've got the medium, and so now the dark is going on next. So I'm going to get the dark set up here, and I'm going to start this way, and like I said before, I'm not going to pin it. And you know, but feel free to pin yours, especially if you worry about it slipping. I'm just being very stubborn about this, and I'm not going to do it. All right, so here we go. Get this strip. And what I like about some of these patterns is that you can use them at different times of the year. Like I said, this one I used the Christmas fabric. You could use fall fabric, you know, you could use Easter fabric, whatever. It changes the look, but the pattern is the same. And with the ease of this pattern, you might want to try doing that. I think it would be a really nice, you know, like St. Patrick's, using some different St. Patrick's Day fabric and putting the stars, you know, the gold stars, you know, say you could be the lucky star or whatever. You can change things up and using the same pattern, and they look so different. We did that one time here at the store. We did the same quilt, and we did it in 2 different kinds of fabrics, and we hung them by the front door, and nobody knew that they were the same pattern. They just were pretty surprised when I said, take a better look, you know. So you could do the same thing with these. So now, got this one done, and of course you have to trim off those threads because I can't stand to look at them hanging there. All right. So got that. And this is called a strip set. And this is what is used when you do the rail fence. So now I'm going to press it, and I'm going to press toward the dark. So I will start with the light, and I'll just press this way. Okay, so here we have our strip set, and now I'm going to cut it in segments of 5 inches. So I will measure 5 inches and cut. Another 5, and I will do that all the way across. Oops, I almost goofed. Ah, yes. Now this is kind of crooked, so I don't know what I did there, but we will soon find out. So I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger. And then I will go back and straighten that up. So I'm just going to turn it around, and then I'm going to make sure that it's 5. You can see that this was a little bit bigger over here on this end, so I want to check that, make sure that I get that trimmed off so there are no problems later on. I'll probably have another problem, but right now we've got this going pretty well here. So, almost to the end. You know, and that trimming, it could be just because of the strips being sewed together. And even though I did it the way I was supposed to, sometimes things happen. So you really do need to check it before you go on to the next step to make sure that you've got the right size. And one more should do it. Okay, so I'll just put this over here as an extra piece. So now we have these all cut. And I am going to set those aside because we will need those. But now we have to go to my friendship star. All right, and what we have to do for the friendship star is you are going to take your 2.5 inch squares. You've got your gold and you have your white, and you are going to put the white on top of the gold, and we are going to make these half square triangles is what we are going to do. Now you can do that one of 2 ways. When you first get started and you're doing it, you would do this. You're going to draw a diagonal line. Okay, and then you sew 1/4 inch from that diagonal line going here and then going there. All right, so that was the way I learned when I first started, which works very well. But then as you get going and you're doing more of this and you find out there's some tools that can help you and they can help you go a little bit faster, you find a tool that looks something like this. There's a couple different ones, but this is the one that I have here at the store, so I'm going to use that. And what you do is you match this up into the corners and right through there, and then you draw on either side of this tool. I'm going to flip it over. So now, this was the way I did it originally, and I said I was going to sew 1/4 inch on either side. Well, if I use this tool and I do that same thing, I have my sew lines, and then I can just sew on that line that I drew. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to stick a couple pins in here and get another one. And on this one, I'm just going to use this. And I'm going going to put the tool here, and I am going to just trace on this. And I'm going to go down this side, do the same. So here are my sew lines. I don't need that line down the middle. I've got my sew lines. So I'll stick some pins so that doesn't move on me. So now I don't really have to worry about that 1/4 of an inch because I'm just going to sew on that the line that I drew. And I just kind of turn it around and I go on the other side. And then I can put this one right in. And I can flip it, and I can come down the other side. Okay, so I've got those sewed. And I'll just trim all this, get rid of these little threads, and trim this. All right, so to get the half square triangle, now what we have to do is to cut down from corner to corner. So I'm going to take my little ruler and I'm going to put this corner to corner with my rotary cutter. I am going to just cut it down the middle. So we have 2 pieces here. And I am going to do the same thing on this one. So when you open these up, because they are right sides together, you will have half square triangles. All right, and this is what we need for this part of the friendship star. So I'm going to get these pressed. Oh, and by the way, when I was doing this, I used one of these markers, and these are the markers that when you put the iron to it, it disappears. So you don't have to worry about it, you know, like showing up or whatever. And when I press these, I am going to press them toward the darker. So I'm going to press it toward the gold. Not that. And after we get this done, then our next, the next thing we have to do is that we have to make sure that we have these at 2 inches, because these little squares that we already cut are 2 inches, so these also have to be 2 inches. So I am going to get this pressed. All right, so now it's time to get these squared up. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that I get these to be 2 inches. Now they're pretty close, but you know, we've got these little ears sticking out here, and I want to make sure that we have it at 2 inches so that it matches up. On this ruler, there is a diagonal line. I know it's pretty hard to see, but on these rulers, there's a diagonal line. And what I do is I put that diagonal line on this diagonal line that we sewed. So I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to match it up to the 2 inches, and it looks pretty close. So I'm just going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut it up and then over, and then I am going to flip it, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I will get it on the 2 inches, and the diagonal is right on the diagonal that I sewed. So I'm going to go up and over, get rid of those ears. Okay, so now that I've squared this, and this is 2 inches, and I'm going to do the same to the other 3 to get this together. All right, so now that I have all of my my half square triangles are now squared to 2 inches, just like these are, I'm going to start to put this friendship star together. And I always like to start in the middle, and because I always end up putting these little guys the wrong way. So I start in the middle, and then I take my 4 white ones and I put them kind of like a tic-tac-toe thing or whatever, and I put them like that to make sure I get everything going in the right direction. Put that there and get that there. All right, so now I'm going to put this one in. So, and I'm cheating because I'm looking at what I have. And this one is going here, and then this one is going here, and this one goes here. And so there it is, the friendship star. And now I'm going to get it sewed together. And these have to be, we're going to sew like the rows together, and then the blacks together, and then the rows together to get it. So I'm just going to fold these little guys over like this. And again, well, I think I'll be a good girl, and I'll put a couple pins in just so I don't mess this up. And I just love this friendship star. I think it was the first quilt that I made after I had opened the shop was a friendship quilt, and I still have it on my couch at home. So 1/4 of an inch. Let's hope it's the right 1/4 of an inch. Because even though it's 1/4 of an inch, sometimes those 1/4 of an inches on your machines might be just a little bit different. So you gotta be careful on that. Put the next one in. Get the next one in. Bring them over. Get rid of this. These threads don't want to cooperate with me today. They don't want to get cut. You can see that these are matching up pretty well to the 2 inches, so I'm glad that I squared them up to what they were supposed to be, or as close as possible. This one will go here. This. Okay, now take this over. And we will sew this. Okay. Okay, so the pins are out, and I'm opening this up, and you can see how this is beginning to look. Now I have to take it over and get this pressed. So one thing you want to remember is that when you are doing this, you want them to go in opposite directions. So when I do the friendship star, I like to go to the middle first, and I know that it's kind of inconvenient because it is in the middle and you may end up hitting on the top and the bottom, but I want these to be pressed out. All right, so when I laid this down, it basically kind of went that way. So I'm going to take it to the ironing, and I'm going to press this out, and when I do that, after I do that, then I'm going to take the top and the bottom, and I'm going to press the blocks in. and I'll show you in a second. All right, so I'm gonna take that over. And like I said, it's not too bad with this little iron, but when you got one of your regular size iron, it gets kind of hairy. All right, so I've got these are pressed out. Now I'm going to press these in. And the reason that I want to do that is because I want them, when I go to put the layers together, the rows together, I want those seams to nest together so that the star goes together and you can get some good corners. All right, and let's see if I can get this. Now it's going in. I'm going to just kind of flip this over because it's easier to do it that way. And this is going to go in. And the bottom one is also going to go in. So now, and I don't know if you can see real well, but you can see that the selvage edges here are going this way, and here they're going this way. So I can take those two pieces and I can bring them together and nest them in so that those seams are going to be right together. And I'm going to stick a pin in there right away so it doesn't move on me. And I'm going to go over to the other ones and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to nest that in there and I'm going to stick a pin in there so it doesn't move out of place. All right, I'm going to stick a pin here. Put one at the end so it doesn't move. I always have trouble when I get to the end. It seems like my machine wants to go in or something. So I have to make sure I put a pin there. All right, so I'm going to come over here and I am going to, at 1/4 of an inch, I am going to sew this. And I'm going to do the same exact thing to this. You know what? I think maybe while I have that, I think it might be easier if I just come over here and give this a little press and get that out of the way. Because I certainly wouldn't want to sew those together. I have to rip out. Okay, get them together, nest it in there, stick a pin in. The other side, nest it in, pin. So for the whole project, you need to make, for this whole table runner, you need to make 8 of these. And I forgot to tell you when we were doing the strip sets, you will make 3 of those strip sets. And then you end up making, I think it's something like 24, whatever, when you subcut them to make these, your rail fence blocks. So we have these made, we've got our rail fence made, and like I said, you'll get all the pieces that you need, and then we're going to get those sewed together. All right, so we had all of our squares, and according to the directions, the pattern, I laid this out the way it needed to be. Now you'll be able to look at the picture in the pattern, and that will help you, that will show you exactly how to lay this out so that you get the pattern of the stars going down and back up and back down and back up, zigzagging. So I pinned all of this together, and I'm going to sew these blocks, and then we'll sew the 3 rows together to get the inside part of the table runner together. All right, so here we go. Just continue to do this till you get them all sewed together. There are 10 of them in each row, I do believe. All right, so you can see that I've got this sewed together. And what you need to do, make sure, is just like we did when we were making the star, each row, when you press it, needs to be going the opposite way. That's what you have to do to get those seams nestled in there together. So we are going to do the same thing. This last row that I had sewed together had been pressed this way, and so now I'm going to I have pressed the last row that I've done, and I have pressed it the opposite way. So now I will take this and I will put it like on top, and I will nestle those in, get them pinned all the way, and I will get those sewed up, and we will have the middle section taken care of. All right, as you can see, we've got the middle section done. In fact, we have got most of it done, but I sewed the middle section together, got the 3 rows sewed together. So the next part will be to put on the inside border. Now I suggest, and you can do it any way you want to, but I suggest that you take those 1 1/4 inch strips and sew them together, and then measure the short side first to see what that's going to be, and then cut the piece and sew it on, and do the same thing for this side. So the 2 short sides on first, and then go back and measure the 2 long sides, and then cut those and sew those on. And then do the same thing with the outside border. Sew those strips together, measure to the 2 short sides, and get those sewed on, and then do the long sides and do that also. And as you can see, with this, after I got those done, I did sandwich this, and I just didn't get it quilted, but I did sandwich it. So I've got the top layer, and I've got my batting inside, and then I have my backing, and so I've got that all smoothed out, and it's ready to quilt. And I think really what I'm going to do to quilt this, I think I'm just going to go like in the ditch, I'm not going to do anything special to it. I'm just going to do something very basic, go around in the, like the inside and outside borders, and then just put the binding on it. So this is the project. It's not a hard project to do. I hope you all try it, and really it'd be nice to see some of your pictures. It doesn't have to be Christmas, it could be anything you want, anything to match your kitchen, your living room, wherever you want to put it. But it was a fun project, and again, there's that friendship star, and I really like that. So hope you keep watching, and got something special for the next time. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.